I want to take a moment to recognize someone whose generosity and vision made our gathering here at UCF possible, and that's my father, Najmuddin Karim, a true Kurdish patriot. He dedicated his life to the Kurdish cause and the pursuit of knowledge, ensuring the rich history and struggles of the Kurdish people are studied and understood. His unwavering commitment led to the establishment of KPSP, and without his foresight, we wouldn't be here today, engaging in these vital discussions. His legacy continues to inspire, and I know he would be very proud to see the impact of his work reflected in this room. It's my great honor today to introduce our next speaker, a great friend of my family, Representative Treefa Aziz, the Kurdistan Regional Government's representative to the United States. Ms. Aziz has been a leading voice for Kurdish interests on the global stage, navigating the complex political landscape of Washington, D.C., and working to strengthen the ties between Kurdistan and the U.S. Her leadership and advocacy continue to elevate Kurdish issues in international policymaking. Representative Aziz's dedication to fostering Kurdish-American ties dates back to the aftermath of the 1991 Gulf War in Iraq, Operation Desert Storm, when she served as the KDP representative to the United States. Having personally experienced the hardships of political persecution, she emigrated from Kurdistan to the U.S. with her family in 1977, seeking refuge from the oppressive regime of Saddam Hussein and the Ba'athist government. Raised and educated in the United States, she proudly embraces her dual identity and endeavors to bridge and strengthen relationships between the Kurdistan region and the United States. Ms. Aziz holds a JD from the Washington College of Law at AU in Washington, D.C., and she's also a member of the Virginia State Bar. We are fortunate to hear from her today as she shares insights into Kurdistan's evolving role in global affairs. So please join me in welcoming Treefa Aziz.
Good morning, everyone. It's a pleasure to be here with you today. I've been asked to speak for quite a bit of time. I'm usually very short and brief, so I will cover, I hope, topics that are of interest to you all, and hopefully we can have a exchange and dialogue afterwards. I'm happy, again, to be here. I want to also begin by thanking the Kurdish Political Studies Program at UCF for hosting this important conference. On behalf of the Kurdistan Regional Government of Iraq, I am honored to participate and engage with you all today on the role of Kurds on the global stage. The Kurdish people have long stood at the crossroads of history, navigating geopolitical complexities while maintaining our distinct cultural identity. Today, we continue to assert our role as a key player in the Middle East, leading efforts to promote stability, security, and economic development. The Kurdistan region serves as a model for resilience and progress, never shying from our firm commitment to democratic values, human rights, and regional peace. Today, the Middle East is undergoing significant geopolitical shifts. In a little over a year, a new government is shaping in Syria after more than 5 decades of Assad's rule in the country. This development could signal the beginning of a new Syria that respects its diverse ethnic and religious communities following years of conflict, oppression, and international isolation. At the same time, the war in Gaza and Israel's military operations have led to the weakening of Hamas's infrastructure and a renewed focus on regional security cooperation, promoting discussions on long-term stability and post-conflict reconstruction. The Abraham Accords continue to influence diplomatic relations, fostering closer ties between Israel and the Arab states. However, ongoing conflicts continue to challenge lasting peace efforts. In the Gulf, Saudi Arabia and UAE are pushing forward with economic diversification, asserting more independent foreign policies, while Turkey recalibrates its regional role through diplomacy and strategic ambitions. Iraq is balancing its relationship with both the United States and Iran, seeking stability amid internal challenges, while the Kurdistan region navigates complex dynamics with Baghdad and regional powers to preserve its autonomy and economic future. These shifts underscore the region's fluid and dynamic nature with far-reaching implications for security, trade, and global energy markets. The Kurdistan region of Iraq is nestled right in the heart of the Middle East and its evolving dynamics, and it plays a pivotal role in promoting regional peace and security. As a stable and strategically positioned entity, the Kurdistan region has actively facilitated dialogue between key players, including efforts to mediate peace talks between Turkey and the Kurdistan Workers' Party, the PKK, to reduce hostilities, protect innocent lives, and foster long-term stability. And as our guest mentioned earlier, the statement is, as we speak, being thing, and hopefully later on today we can analyze that statement. Hopefully that this will bring about peace after decades and decades of armed struggle between Turkey and the PKK. Additionally, the KRG has worked to unite Kurdish parties in Syria, enabling them to align under a common Kurdish framework in Damascus to ensure their political and cultural rights. A key development in this effort was a recent meeting between President Masoud Barzani and General Mazloum Abdi of the Syrian Democratic Forces, underscoring the Kurdistan region's commitment to Kurdish unity and its role in shaping a more secure and inclusive future of the Kurds in Syria. The Kurdistan region's longstanding partnership with the United States and regional powers further enhance its role as a bridge for diplomatic engagement, counterterrorism operations, and economic development. As Iraq navigates its delicate balance between U.S. and Iranian influence, the Kurdistan region leads the way in fostering dialogue and stability, ensuring that Kurdish interests continue to a broader vision of regional peace. The KRG has also been strengthening economic cooperation with Gulf countries, recognizing the region's potential as a strategic trade and investment hub. The KRG has engaged with Saudi Arabia, the UAE, and Qatar to attract investment in key sectors such as energy, infrastructure, agriculture, leveraging Kurdistan's resources and strategic location. Gulf investors have shown increasing interest in the Kurdistan region by expanding the private sector, particularly in renewable energy, tourism, logistics, as part of their broader efforts to diversify their own economies beyond oil. Additionally, trade relations have been growing, with Kurdistan serving as a gateway for Gulf businesses seeking access to the Iraqi market. These partnerships not only enhance the Kurdistan region's economic resilience, but also contribute to a broader regional stability by fostering deeper economic interdependence and cooperation. Strengthening ties with the Gulf further positions the Kurdistan region as a vital economic and political partner in the Middle East landscape. Beyond our partnerships in the Middle East, the KRG is proud of its enduring partnership with the United States. As a true and tested ally, the Kurdistan region remains the most reliable partner of the U.S. in the region. This strong partnership has been instrumental in advancing stability, security, and progress. The U.S. has been a critical ally in supporting the Kurdistan region's security, particularly in the fight against terrorism. Through military cooperation, training programs, and direct assistance, the U.S. has played a vital role in strengthening our Peshmerga forces and supporting the modernization and the unification of our defense under the Ministry of Peshmerga. This coordination between the Kurdistan region and the U.S.-led coalition to defeat ISIS has been a key factor in dismantling the terror group's territorial or operational capacity, preventing its resurgence and maintaining regional stability. The bravery and resilience of our Peshmerga forces, supported by U.S. air power, intelligence sharing, and logistical assistance, has been critical in achieving significant victories against ISIS. Today, while ISIS is no longer controlling territory inside Iraq, it remains a persistent and deadly threat, making presence of the U.S.-led coalition forces essential for long-term stability. In addition to security, the economic prosperity of the Kurdistan region remains a top priority for the KRG. We have taken many steps to promote an open market, reducing regulatory barriers, and creating a business-friendly environment for foreign investment, including American companies. Our government continues to implement policies to strengthen the private sector. American companies are an important part of Kurdistan's economic development, and we are eager to expand these partnerships across sectors from energy and infrastructure to technology and agriculture. Many U.S. companies already have a strong presence in the region, such as Pepsi, Coca-Cola, Chevron, HKN Energy, and Hunt Oil. Additionally, we have more than 200 NGOs operating in the Kurdistan region, contributing to humanitarian development, capacity building, and other efforts. Educational and cultural ties continue to grow through numerous exchange programs and sister city partnerships, strengthening the human bonds between Kurdistan and the United States. For years, federalism has been a cornerstone of Iraq's unity, providing a framework for regional autonomy and ensuring diverse representation within a multi-ethnic state. It was designed to protect the rights of all Iraqis, fostering stability through shared governance and mutual respect for our diversity. Unfortunately, today, those protections are under threat. By disregarding the Constitution, federalism, and the principles of inclusive governance, Iraq's recent efforts to undermine Kurdish autonomy risks unraveling the hard-fought progress achieved since the fall of Saddam Hussein. The consequences of this trajectory are grave, not only for the Kurdistan region, but for all Iraqis. The challenges we face today cannot be resolved through unilateral decisions or coercive measures from Baghdad that undermine the rights of the Kurdistan region. The KRG continues to negotiate with the Iraqi federal government in good faith to resolve all outstanding issues, including revenue sharing, budget allocations, payment of civil servants, resumption of oil exports from the Kurdistan region, and joint security cooperation. We need Baghdad to stand firm on its obligations to respect the principles of federalism. We also need our allies and our partners to stand with us to uphold these democratic principles, protect the constitutional framework, and the rights of ethnic and religious communities in Iraq. The United States and the international community must remain vigilant and proactive. Turning a blind eye to these dangerous developments is not an option. Iraq's stability is vital to regional and global security, and any erosion of federalism will have far-reaching consequences. History has shown unchecked power leads to the suppression of dissent, the erosion of freedoms, and the persecution of minority groups. We must not allow history to repeat itself. Protecting federalism is not just a legal obligation, it's a moral imperative. The Kurdistan region remains committed to democracy, peaceful coexistence, and we cannot do this alone. The Kurdistan region, like the United States, has an abundant supply of oil and gas. We have been working alongside U.S. energy companies for decades to power the world, creating economic value and jobs both in the United States and in Kurdistan. Unfortunately, for nearly 2 years, the Iraq-Turkey pipeline, ITP, that was used to export oil from the Kurdistan region to the world market has been shut down. Although the Kurdistan region has the constitutional right to explore and sell its own natural resources, the suspension of these oil exports have cost more than $20 billion in lost revenue. Prior to the ITP closure in 2023, the Kurdistan region was exporting nearly 450,000 barrels of crude oil per day, amounting to roughly 0.5% of the world's supply. More than 40 international oil companies, including several American energy leaders, had production sharing contracts and agreements with Kurdistan, and the U.S. government itself helped to underwrite large investment from U.S. companies in our energy sector. This relationship with the U.S. energy sector played and helped Kurdistan's economy flourish, enabling investments in other infrastructure and industries, while also generating significant revenues for U.S. energy companies. Furthermore, it helped to strengthen the global supply of oil from U.S. allied countries, reducing the need for dependence on autocratic regimes. Recently, an interim solution was reached a couple of weeks ago when the Iraqi parliament passed an amendment to the budget law permitting the resumption of oil exports from the Kurdistan region. While there have been statements from Iraqi officials that that pipeline will open soon, we have yet to see that happen. We hope that the oil will start to flow, and we look forward to working with our counterparts in Baghdad to ensure the full implementation and the respect of our international oil companies to be fully compensated. Once we get the pipelines open again, we also need to secure that supply. With multiple attacks against our critical energy infrastructure, we need to protect and defend against future threats. The implementation of the National Defense Authorization Act, the NDAA, 2 years ago to provide the Kurdistan region and Iraq air defense equipment is a critical step to safeguard our energy and enable us to defend ourselves and our partners. Despite the challenges the Kurdistan region faces, we also have made significant victories. Last October, the Kurdistan region successfully completed its 6th parliamentary elections, and despite the 2-year delay, the election process went smoothly in a fair, free, and transparent manner. Many international observers, 1,800 in total, including Americans, Europeans, and UN diplomatic officials, commended the KRG for the most professional, fair, and successful election since 1992. The high voter turnout, more than 70% of the electorate, demonstrates our people's commitment to democratic values and their active participation in shaping the future of our region. Notably, women played a significant role in the elections, both as voters and as candidates, further strengthening the inclusive governance and representation. While the Kurdistan parliament mandates a 30% gender quota, more women gained votes outside of that quota mandate. In addition, members of ethnic and religious communities have gained 5 seats in our parliament. Discussions with major political parties to form a new cabinet are currently underway, and I'm happy to say that we are optimistic that the next cabinet, the 10th cabinet of the KRG, will be finalized in the next month. In conclusion, the Kurdish people have faced immense challenges throughout history, yet we have remained steadfast and resilient in our pursuit of democracy, stability, and prosperity. The Kurdistan region continues to serve as a beacon of resilience, a bridge for dialogue, and a force for peace in an ever-changing Middle East. As we navigate these regional and global political dynamics, the Kurdistan region remains committed to upholding federalism, safeguarding our economic future, and ensuring long-term stability for our people. Our enduring partnerships with the United States, regional allies, and the international community are built on these shared values and responsibilities. The future of Kurdistan is one of hope and opportunity, and we will continue to build a stronger, more prosperous Kurdistan region that continues to contribute to global stability and ensures that the Kurdish voice remains strong on the global scale. Thank you for being patient, and I'm happy to respond to any questions from the audience. Thanks again.
Thank you very much, Representative Aziz. We do have some time for question and answer session. If you would like to ask a question, please let me know and I will get the microphone to you. Questions? Yes, over here.
Hi, Treefa. Thank you for your talk. I just wanted to ask you about the oil exports. First of all, you said 450,000 barrels a day. That's not 5% of the global.
0.5.
0.5, yeah.
0.5.
Yeah. But can you tell us where that oil was going once it went from Kurdistan to Ceyhan, and then where were the customers?
Yes. The oil was being transported, exported through a pipeline from Iraq to Turkey to the Ceyhan facility. From there are multiple buyers, I would say, throughout the global market. The issue was that since the establishment of our energy sector in 2014, Iraq has been against our efforts to do this independently. And so the sale of our oil was much less than the global market rate. And for that reason, I think one of the reasons we agreed to this new agreement with Baghdad, with SOMO, with the Iraqi market, oil market, that they would sell that on the open market. And in fact, I think we are days away from that opening. The issue is always the devil in the details. This agreement is interim in that there's a 2-month period for an independent international company to come and assess what the true production cost of the oil is in the various fields throughout Kurdistan and Iraq. If you're following this subject closely, the figure that Iraq has proposed is not at all in line with what the oil company's production costs are, and will not even cover their operational. So what we've agreed to is that for the time period, we will sell the oil at $16 per barrel. And after the 2-month period, when we have an independent assessment, hopefully that number will increase and we will go back to full production.
I have one more question over here from my colleague, Dr. Joshi.
Yeah.
Thank you, Professor Mehmet. Ms. Aziz, thank you so much for that rendition. It was a great lecture. Just wondering, in terms of diplomatic engagements, what's the strategy with rising powers like India and China, particularly with the relevance of India, Middle East, Europe corridor coming up, which would go through some of the Kurdish territories? Is there a strategy to engage not only with the Western powers, but also rising powers like India and China?
Yes, of course. Thank you. Thank you. Sure. Actually, in fact, China has been increasing its engagement in the Middle East, throughout the Middle East, I would say, including engagement in Iraq. They're very interested in partnering with both the Iraqi government and the Kurdish government on economic programs and initiatives. I think just recently, a few months ago or last year, the Iraqi government signed a variety of agreements with Chinese companies. I will say honestly that the U.S. is not too thrilled about that. So far, we have some discussions and engagements with Asian countries, including China and Japan and Korea. We continue to be selective in the Kurdistan region to partner with those that are aligned with our values and our goals. And our tendency, our preference has usually been with U.S. and Western companies. However, we are expanding, as I mentioned, our outreach to the Gulf and Arab countries. Our economic partnership with Turkey is quite extensive, and it has been for decades. So I think the Kurdistan region is aware and engaging with emerging new powers that are trying to influence and come into the Middle East that have not been there in the past. So hopefully that answers your question.
Questions? Over here. Okay. There you go.
Hi. Your Excellency, thank you for those comments. Over the next 2 days, we're going to have discussion about Kurds writ large, Kurds in Iran, Syria, and Turkey, I believe. Is there anything that you're, I know there's some things you're probably uncomfortable sharing with us, but if there's anything you could share regarding the relationships among those Kurdish people, the 25 or so million Kurds that are direct neighbors. Thank you.
Thank you. Yes, I think as you've seen, and especially most recently, the KRG has taken a very proactive role in bringing peace to the Middle East with our brothers and sisters in our neighboring countries. We've been quite active for a while now, trying to bring peace talks between PKK and Turkey. This has been a long fought battle with very little gain and a lot of destruction and detriment even to the Kurdistan region of Iraq. With the borders and the villages, I believe 450 villages have been evacuated because of this armed struggle. It is my hope that the statement today from Mr. Öcalan will be disarming, and that dialogue and negotiations with the Turkish government will lead to enduring peace and the recognition of Kurdish rights in Turkey. We're hoping that that happens. But we have been, from our highest leadership in the Kurdistan region, engaged with Turkey and assisting in those efforts. In Syria, with the very rapidly evolving dynamics and the collapse of Assad's government, we've again taken a very proactive role in bringing the Kurds in Syria together with all the various political parties, not just with SDF, to have a unified voice in Damascus, to ensure that they are represented, that they are respected, and that they're part of a new government. And we, at the highest levels, have been engaging with political leaders as well as political parties to ensure that we give them as much support as we can for a unified voice in the new Syrian government. On Iran, our Rojhalati brothers and sisters is a continuing challenge, as everybody knows here. Our relations with Iran has been difficult, I would say, with direct attacks and indirect attacks through proxies. However, I think our leadership have tried to minimize that destructive behavior by ensuring our neighbor that we are not working or sabotaging their government, and that with the opposition Kurdish groups that have been living in the Kurdistan region of Iraq for decades now, since Saddam Hussein, that they also don't pose a threat to the government. And we have ensured, both in cooperation with the Iraqi government, that cross-border attacks don't happen. I would say overall, the struggle of all the Kurdish communities in the neighborhood is a unique one. Not everybody is dealing with the same kind of government and circumstances. Since we are the only recognized official regional government in the region, we're trying to play a positive and constructive role by enabling our Kurdish brothers and sisters in the Middle East to have greater rights through dialogue and discussions. Thank you.
Any other questions, Vladimir?
Kurdistan Chronicle. There were a lot of issues in the past with the budget being cut of the Kurdistan region and Kurdish government workers not receiving their salaries. Has there been now a solution for this, or are there still people without salaries in the Kurdistan region?
Since you just came from there, you probably can answer that question yourself. The revenue sharing and the distribution allocation of budget continues to be a challenge for us. Unfortunately, we are having to still send on a monthly basis senior delegations to Baghdad to work on a mechanism to enable the automatic distribution of salaries to our civil servants. I will say it's a up and down development. While there are assurances by certain officials in Iraq that there are mechanisms that will be put in place, we have yet to see it. And we have continued to basically influence our counterparts in Baghdad that discriminating the Kurdistan region from the rest of Iraq and not treating civil servants the same way is illegal. The federal court has agreed with our position and has mandated that Iraq unpoliticize the salaries of civil servants and our pensioners, our security apparatus, our peshmergas, that those should not be held hostage to any political negotiations. I am hopeful that in this year, the mechanism will be put in place so that we do not need to continually, on a monthly basis, engage the Iraqis on this subject. But are we there yet? I would say, unfortunately, no. Well, we will continue to work on this with the government.
Thank you. We do have a few more minutes for a couple of questions. Yes. There you go.
My question is, since ISIS seems to be losing traction in Iraq and the Middle East, is oil one of the only sources for U.S. support in the Kurdistan region of Iraq?
No. In fact, the KRG and the government for the past 4 years has taken a very active role in diversifying our economy. And so we're not completely reliant on oil and gas. And so we have done a lot of initiatives and programs to rebuild our infrastructure, boosting our agricultural sector, boosting tourism, as well as building industries and factories in the Kurdistan region. The United States has been very interested and has partnered with us on a variety of programs in the Kurdistan region, not just on oil. However, oil remains the main source, not just for the Kurdistan region, but for Iraq in general, of revenues. So we're not there yet, but I think on a year-by-year basis, we have been in the Kurdistan region redeveloping our other industries by 10 to 15%. So we're on the way of getting there. And it is my role here as the KRG representative in the U.S. to encourage more American investment beyond oil and gas. Our banking sector needs a lot of assistance and work, and we are partnering and working with U.S. banks and commercial sector companies to modernize and to upgrade our banking system so that people are easily accessing their funds, their salaries, as well as credit, which is a new thing in Iraq. It's still a very heavily cash-based system. And we're trying to move the country to a credit-based system so that people like us in the United States have credit cards, can get loans from banks, can travel on these credit cards and not depend on cash.
David.
Thank you. This might kind of sound like a random question, but I mean it as a way to highlight larger problems. It's been 22 years since the overthrow of the Saddam Hussein regime. And as far as I can tell, I still can't mail a letter to Iraq. And so there's no postal system still.
Yes.
So I was wondering if you could comment on that.
Sure. It is a funny thing. There is a postal system. It's very expensive. Unfortunately, we don't have the infrastructure yet I think to be with like global standards on the market. But I'm happy to direct you to some of the postal systems that we have. I just forewarn you, it is expensive. And unfortunately, I think we're still in the old days where we're sending things through people who are traveling back and forth from the country. Maybe one day we will, get to a more normal international mailing system, but we're not there yet. But thank you for the question.
We have one more question here. Carla?
Thank you so much for your time. I just wanted to ask, in the event that we see a larger recognition of the independence and sovereignty of the Kurdistan region and the hope for larger unity of Kurdish regions in general, how do you expect the Kurdish regions to navigate great power conflict between the United States, China, and Russia? Is there a stronger leaning towards U.S. support, or do you expect a neutral disposition towards a conflict between these superpowers?
Yeah, it's a good question. For sure, we're balancing these relationships. We have good relations and even a consulate of the Russian government in Erbil, in Kurdistan. And we have a long history with that country as well. So that spans like decades. I think we are recognizing that the balance of these relationships is necessary for the future of Kurdistan's autonomy as well as prosperity. So we don't shut the door on anyone. I think the only caveat I will say is nations who are engaging in nefarious activities or not in alignment with our shared values are not what we're interested in. However, we are recognized as a KRG is recognized as a hub for an openness for all foreign missionaries to operate in the region, because we believe that the existence and the prosperity of our region depends on having a diverse relationship on the global scale. Thank you.
Unless we have another question from the audience, I would like to ask the final question, if that's okay with you.
Sure.
Now, my colleague, Yogesh Dr. Joshi, the School of Politics is home to Kurdish Political Studies as well as India Center. And my colleague is director of the India Center. And he and I have been talking about the other giant in Asia other than China. So we have India. I was wondering if you could comment on India-Kurdistan Regional Government relations. Is there anything going on? Any future project, prospect? Is India interested in investing and building relationship with KRG?
Yes, I think we have a good relationship with the Indian government. We have about nearly 40 consulates. One of them is India in Erbil. And we have a very vibrant relationship and even have cultural events together. In terms of specific projects, to be honest, I'm not that well versed on it, but it is something we can definitely find out for you. But they are active in the region, and they are active in the Kurdistan region, and we have good relationships with them. And I'm sure that there are programs or initiatives that are being discussed or shared with the government, with the Kurdistan Regional Government. But unfortunately, I just don't have the specifics on what those relationships are.
Well, please, we have one more questions, all right? Last one, last question.
Just on the topic of India in general, do you think that the Kashmiri struggle in India in any way complicates the relations between Kurdistan and India?
I'm not sure I can answer that question. I apologize, but I don't know.
I think it is too complicated.
Yes, I'm not an expert in that field, sorry.
One last question, one last quick questions. Yes, absolutely.
In terms of developing the Kurdish economy, is there a specific stream of economic development besides oil, because I know we did talk about that,
Yes.
that you feel would give Kurdistan a better place within the global economic structure?
Yes. Yeah, it's a good question. There's a number, but I would say if you had to select one industry that we've been investing a lot of energy into, which is agriculture. We are historically we were the breadbasket of the world. With years of war and oppression and genocide, that industry almost nearly died in Iraq in general, not just in Kurdistan. The current Prime Minister, Masroor Barzani, his top priority was to redevelop and help our farmers in the agricultural sector. And I'm very proud to say, for the first time a year ago, we exported a Kurdish fruit to the Gulf states and now to Europe, and it is our famous pomegranates. And we have been working on redeveloping, modernizing that pilot program that started about a year ago. We're also continuing to look at some of the other unique products of Kurdistan, such as like honey, and we've got grapes and other produce that we'd like to also start to export. But our government is committed to helping our farmers all across the region to subsidize their industry by helping them to export these products. And hopefully one day we will be importing less for ourselves and using more local organic produce. And so I would say agriculture definitely is top, priority. Second, I would say would be banking. Ensuring that we have the adequate infrastructure and systems in place takes a level of modernization that we don't have technically right now. We have made some strides in that industry as well. You might have heard, if you're following, the My Account initiative, which is very much like our direct deposit system here in America, where your funds or the employer, here would be the government, would directly deposit your salaries into a bank account that you then have the ability to go access. We've built over 1,000 ATMs across the region so that people can access that. And as I mentioned earlier, the other advantage to this is to give people, for the first time, credit and the ability to use credit cards for both purchasing things in the country and also traveling abroad. So it's a big initiative. We're on the right path, and we're obviously working with the Iraqi government, since banking is a federal responsibility, to ensure that their banking system is also modernized and up to speed. So those are the industries we're working hard on. Thank you.
Your Excellency, thank you very much.